Hello?
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. I'm trying to I can see myself on the screen but I'm not sure. I'm not able to get my face up on the computer for you guys, it doesn't look like.
Oh, that's weird.
I don't understand.
Do you see yourself in the camera?
Well, yeah, like I can go and it says like choose your virtual background or whatever you want to do, and I could when I open that up I can see it. So it looks like I've chosen something. Maybe I'll choose a different one. And then it's fine, but I don't understand why it's not showing for you guys.
See if that works. You see it? Did you have something pop up? There you are.
Oh yeah. Huh, I wonder, that's weird.
Yeah, you have to, I think, specifically ask your computer to start the video
Yeah.
or it won't do it.
Michael,
Yeah?
I don't have an image in the,
Is that you, Pat?
yes,
Okay, hold on. I'll try the same thing for you. Pat. Come on, open up. Oh, okay, Pat, Yankee, more. That's just that video. There you are.
I am.
Michael, why don't you tell me when you're ready and then we'll start the meeting.
All right. You want me to ask Jane to start her video?
Whatever you guys need to do this right.
All right.
And then I'll-
I think she might have that off on her own. I want to ask to start video. There you go. All right. Michael, Jerome, Eric's phone, John McManus. Okay. Right. All right. So I'm going, who's going first? Do you want me to mute the people that aren't going to be going first?
We're moving Nick Weir, 18 Mill Street up in the agenda because he has a conflicting meeting.
Okay. Everybody else is fine. All right, we're good.
Thank you
All
very
set?
much for that.
Sure, Nick. Okay, so it's 5:02, Michael, and we'll call the meeting of the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board of the Village of Cooperstown to order. Thanks for being here, everybody, tonight on this beautiful evening. We are going to start with item number 3 on the regular agenda, 18 Mill Street. Nick, do you want to tell us about the field change you're proposing?
The field change, so for the front porch, yeah, proposing that I tear down the existing structure of the stone structure that's there and replace it with a wooden front porch. And I provided pictures of the materials to Jane over email earlier in the week. And so did you guys have a chance to look at those?
Yeah, so those are the photos of the different materials, like on the at Home Depot or whatever on
Right.
this, and then I think there were a couple of pages. So there's one that shows the construction of the porch you're proposing.
Right, yeah, it shows like a rough outline of what it would look like. And then I took a couple pictures of the materials as well.
Okay. And you still plan to maintain the same footprint?
Yes, I do.
Does anybody have any questions for Nick about his proposed materials and porch design?
So it's the same configuration exactly?
That's correct.
Okay.
And Nick, you'll be using the same materials for the steps and the railing, or handrail for the steps then too?
That's correct, yes.
Pat, do you have any questions?
No,
Okay. Dave, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Brian, did you have any additional questions?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion since Roger's not here.
Sure.
I move that we approve the change order as submitted by Nicholas.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thanks, Pat. Any discussion? Okay, please voice your vote so Michael knows who's speaking. Liz votes yay.
Brian, yay.
David, yes.
Pat, yes.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Nick, for letting us know what you're planning to do there.
Thank you also very much.
Okay. So we'll move back to item number 1 on the regular agenda. That's 28 Leatherstocking Street. Emily. Emily, would you like to tell us about the materials you gave Jane and what you're proposing with them?
Yeah, sorry I was late. I had trouble connecting.
It worked out well that we told Nick he could go before you then.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Worked out for
Yeah, so, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we went back and we did a lot of searching with our contractor, and I think we found something that works sort of for everybody. And so it's siding boards that is made out of actually fly ash and polymers glue. It's actually a byproduct that would otherwise go into landfills, I think, from coal combustion. So they created a material that's super sturdy, very sustainable, and will work for what we're doing. So it does come in the Dutch lap style that you all talked about last time. It also can come in any color, so we can match the color that the barn is now and stick with the beautiful red color. And it also gives us the sort of maintenance-free or less maintenance that my husband and I were looking for too, so that the barn will stay looking beautiful for a very long time. And yeah, so we are matching. It's the same size reveal as the current barn siding that we talked about, and it should look identical, if not, as close to similar as possible.
Well, I appreciate you trying to get that. Are you planning to maintain the original wood on any sides or just replace everything with the materials you're proposing?
Yeah, we would like to replace everything. We want it to look uniform and match, have the same color throughout the building. So that's what we were planning to do.
Pat, do you have any questions? You were at the last meeting. I know you were part of this discussion in the last meeting.
Yes, actually, I have a question of you, Liz. Do people around here, since I'm from out of town essentially, do people around here essentially save demolition materials like the siding?
Sometimes people do, but we don't demand that of people. It's a good question though. And that was kind of why I was, asking if there was potential of even keeping some of it up on one side just to maintain some of the original materials. I know of some situations where people have passed it on to other builders or other people doing projects, there are some salvage places where it sometimes gets passed along to, but we've never mandated that. But Emily, is that what you were thinking, Pat? Would
Yes.
there be other places
Yes, well,
where it could get?
that's it.
Yeah, and Emily, if I know that, I'm not sure if you know people who have expressed an interest in it, but we can certainly direct you towards some salvage places where they do take original siding and may have a reuse for it.
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
I'm more than happy to pass along whatever can be salvaged. I'm not sure how much of it can be, but obviously any that can, we'd be happy to do that. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you send me information, I'd be happy to have it.
Okay, thank you. It's better than it land up in a burn pile or the landfill.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if somebody wants it, more than happy to facilitate that.
So Did you talk to your contractor about the structural questions and concerns in terms of removing siding? And then, yeah, I realize you're going with a nice sturdy siding, but just in terms of the way that building is built and relying on its siding as part of its structural integrity?
So he said that it's not a concern. The work that was done in the past few years to go from a barn to a living space really resecured the structure. So he's not concerned about the siding being removed or being replaced having an issue on that at all.
Okay. Okay. Dave, did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Brian, I know you were not at the last
I was
meeting.
not here, so I don't know the history of this one, Liz.
Okay. We spoke with Emily at length about the specific profile of her siding in the reveal, and also because it was originally built as a barn and that particular construction, the siding may be part of the structural integrity of it. That's why I just asked her that question. She has found a composite material with the same reveal. And her goal, if I remember correctly, Emily, is to make it as maintenance free as possible. So what she's offering us is a compromise with a new material, same general look, and achieves her goal of maintenance free. So it does not maintain the original materials, but the appearance will be similar.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Is anybody feeling that they are able to make a motion to support this?
Well, I
I
guess
would
I
make
can.
a motion if I knew the right words.
You know, Liz, I left my book at work, I'm embarrassed to say, so I'm sort of at odds on the motions
So-
tonight.
And Dave, do you have your cheat sheet in front of you?
I do.
Thank you, because I also, my book is on the second floor and I'm on the porch. So we're all in one of those places tonight, but we'll keep each other in check here. So Dave, if you were comfortable making a motion.
Right, fine. Whereas the Historic and Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following finding. The proposed application of 28 Leatherstocking Street. The public hearing was not required. It is within the historic district. Therefore, in section 300-26E, following 2A, B, C, 3A, B, C, and D. And I think that's probably it. Therefore, be it resolved, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you, Dave. Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second it. Brian?
Thank you, Brian. Any discussion? Okay, Liz votes yay.
David, yes.
Brian, yes.
Pat, yes.
Great. Thank you very much, Emily, for working with us and finding a compromise. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you all. Have a good one.
You too.
Actually, I think you'll enjoy your barn a lot better with this new material.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited it worked out. It'll be good. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Item number 3 on the agenda, or excuse me, item number 2 on the agenda. I'm sorry, John, 83 Pioneer Street. John, would you like to go ahead and tell us how you've progressed since we last spoke to you?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I think Jane had sent over um, an isometric view of the carport. And I apologize for the late pictures, but we sent over a handful of pictures today as well. The pictures there are to demonstrate some carports in town, and also we had talked about location of parking next to or in front of or near in front of the house. And that's what I kind of provided. I know some of them are garages, but they're also single garages, most of them that are in the same location as the carport that we're talking about. So that's what we've provided since last month. And thank you, Jane, for your help.
Liz, do you want me to pull up those pictures and stuff?
Sure, Jane, if you'd like to, so everybody can take a look at them. John, after our last meeting, I did also go around and do a tour of airports in the community, and I was looking at proximity of garages. As with the ones you sent, these are helpful. My concern is still the kind of scale of the carport and its location on the driveway, as well as the design. I think, I know you're showing us designs that are close to the road, that are even garages. Most of those probably predated HPARB, and I understand what you're pointing to. I just still have a concern about the combined scale compared to the house, and the rather kind of bold design of the carport, and it doesn't quite jive with the design of the house. That's my concern. I'll let other
Yep.
members of HPARB speak.
Yeah, I that was my first impression as well, Liz.
So I get the things you're trying to show us as other examples in the community, but all seem to mesh a little bit better with the structures they're either near or attached to. Think, I know you got frustrated with the committee at the last meeting. I think we were all trying to, or I'll speak for myself, I was trying to articulate nicely that I just didn't think it worked in the location with that design. Okay, Brian, I know you weren't at the last meeting. I don't know if you've had a chance to read the minutes. We really came to an impasse, and Jane was nice enough to give us this stronger visual, excuse me. And John, I know you were also frustrated with us last time because we were stumbling over questions about things like, is the material paintable? Because I think we were all trying to also visualize what this might look like if it were painted to complement the house, even though we do not dictate colors or whether something gets painted. I think we were all trying to better understand what the finished product will look like. And again, I'll speak for myself. I don't know if Pat or David, as people who were in attendance at the last meeting, have any other comments or questions as we talk to John about this.
John?
Liz, this is Brian. My concern is that it's kind of, and it's hard to tell because of the nature of the graphic here. And it's hard to know, but to me right now, it kind of dominates the house. But I don't know if that's just because of the way the graphic is presented, the drawing is presented, or if it truly does. It also doesn't seem to be compatible with the house to me, but.
I'd just like to point out that, again, we're very limited by the width of this lot. We are only a foot off the property line, a foot or so off the property line. And I can't put a different roof on this building. I can't slope it towards the house, and I can't slope it towards the neighbor's lawn. So I have to put somewhat flat roof on this, keep the profile low. So I don't know what you mean by a bold design, Liz. It's just a flat roof design. We can match the trim. It's about the most low profile I can do. So I provided some pictures. I guess that's all I can do. We've got a three-dimensional visual here. I think there is some contrast between the white and the house itself. And moving this back on the lot is very difficult. And there's a porch behind this that we'd have to move it all the way back. You can see the porch there. So that's very problematic. I guess that's all I have to say about it. That's really all we have to present at this point.
And the homeowner is not willing to even bump it back to the landing and the porch and integrate it in that way.
That's a conversation I'm going to have with them. Obviously, it sounds like, you know, well, I won't say anything else about that, but I'm going to have a conversation from the sounds of it, because, you know, you ask for pictures and then I show you some pictures, and then you say that you're trying to guide me in the right direction last month. So I feel like this was kind of a wasted month. I almost wish you guys had just had a vote last month. So I'll wait to see what your decision is. And thank you.
Brian, did you have more questions before we let?
No, that's all.
Okay. Pat, I don't know if you have anything that you'd like to discuss at this point.
There are a couple things. One of which is that in looking through the material I used to use in teaching the modern movement in architecture, the first carport is 1936. It was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright for Herbert Kramer, I guess it is, in Wisconsin, and it was actually attached to the house. Now, the thing is that this particular structure is a type form, but it's a type form from after that, like 1945 to 1960. And my feeling is that in looking at Pioneer Avenue, I can't find any other structure that's similar to it. The pictures that John sent us, and I certainly appreciate, first of all, the visual, but second of all the pictures, are mostly of garages. There are a couple of porte cocheres in which the equivalent of the carport is attached to the house, which I find very appealing and historically would be appropriate to this house without the flat roof, of course. The second thing that I have is that I notice in driving by the house that two cars are parked in the driveway, one of them back beside the stairs. So the current owner, I assume, is using that part of the paving that goes back to the stair area and the little landing. So what I don't understand is why a structure could not be moved back to that. And as you said, Liz, integrate the stoop and the stairs, which would keep them under cover and which would replicate, in effect, the purpose of the original porte cocheres, having you be able to go out of the house and directly into your vehicle or carriage.
Pat, I appreciate your recommendation on that. It's just not the elevation difference between the driveway and the first floor. Reason that porch is there would make it very, very difficult. Our headroom would go into the roof of this carport. It would actually increase the size of it. So that's why we were kind of limited. I do understand exactly what you're saying, and it was discussed, but it just isn't practically possible. It would create a bit of a roof issue, a lot of a roof issue, actually.
The thing that I am actually concerned about most is that the structure, a type form in itself, is not actually compatible with the neighborhood in which it will find itself. I wish it were.
Thank you, Pat. I'm not cutting you off, am I? Do you have anything else to say? Thank you for giving us some perspective in terms of your background in design and architecture. Dave, do you have any questions or comments, anything you'd like to add to this discussion?
Well, looking at this, I realize that the graphic makes it really look stark. I think if it was structured like the porch is structured with the square columns, etc., and maybe painted to match it, it would probably blend in a lot better. I mean, this photograph with the graphics really doesn't do it justice. But I understand what John was trying to do, was to show where it's located.
And I think that we have to give editorial credit to Jane for this, correct? Jane, is this something you did to provide us with a sense of what it'd look like?
Yes, and it was a quick thing. I can't vouch for the height of the thing in relation to the house. It's the model itself is true to a perspective, but when you're bringing it into a photograph without having all the information on the angle of the photograph and stuff, I can't vouch for whether it actually will be sitting lower than where it's showing on the photo right now or not.
I would say that
So,
it's fairly representative. I mean, if you guys aren't happy with it, that's one thing, but I would say that it's fairly representative of it. So yes, thank you, Jane.
I mean, I could have colored everything to kind of complement the house, and then it might not have even shown up as anything. So.
Do you want me to go back, talk to the clients, or do you want, so that you can keep me on the agenda?
If you are willing to do that, John, I think that is the best way to
Okay.
proceed.
That way you don't make
would-
a vote tonight, and that way I can have a conversation. We don't have to submit a new application. We can just table the timeline, and if any, just go from there.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody's going to, we can see if anybody's willing to motion to accept it as proposed, and move from there if you would like us to do that. But my concern is the location in the driveway. It's really, is there any way to push it farther back? And the design, which is not complementary to the buildings and the neighborhood around it.
Okay.
I understand the materials you've given us. There can be a lot of reasons for those existing, and part of them are that I think very few of them reflect H-Power actions. So people who might have come to us proposing some of those may have gotten different feedback. But I think if you look at some of the other carports in the village, they are set back farther and more integrated with the house, whether attached or not. And those are considerations. And I understand that there are other complications, but while we can give you some more direction, but let's see if anybody is willing to make a motion on this. Okay, so John, do you want to go back and talk to the owner some more?
Thank you for your time tonight. What I'd like to do is go back, talk to them, stay on the agenda if I could. I'll touch base with Jane to see if I have any other. And,
Thank you.
And I just want to say one thing, and I do know that I got frustrated last month, and my main frustration lies in the fact that we did put, and this is just a suggestion to the village, and I think it would satisfy some frustrations out there. You know, when we put this out for the zoning variance, we do a public hearing. The village actually puts that out. I think maybe if there was an easier way or a more expedited way for HPARB to be able to comment on any variances going out, where it may affect the application moving forward, because it would have been nice to get HPARP comments on this during the public hearing.
John, and I will, I hear what you're saying, and actually, right after the last meeting, I did ask if there was a reason we didn't see this in July, and there was no design to look at. So zoning deals with the footprint. We deal with the design. If there had been a design to review presented at the same time as the proposal to zoning, we could have done it in a more collaborative fashion, and that would be ideal. I agree.
And Liz, we did have an elevation for the public hearing. But again, yes, zoning is in charge of footprint and HBARB is in charge of the look of building. But here I am in front of HBARB and we're talking about location of the building. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and that's where my frustration lies. And I think it's valid.
Okay.
So-
Well, I hear what you're saying, John, and the drawings, the elevations I have are dated 8/3. So that's the only elevation I see in the file. So I was not aware that you had submitted any kind of a design before then.
Jane, I think we sent that in for the public hearing, didn't we?
Yes, this process started in July, and I had asked you in July whether you wanted to go in front of HPARB, and you said you weren't quite ready. So I didn't get most of the documents for the public hearing in August until right before the public hearing.
Okay.
So I guess the question was, in July, when it was the preliminary zoning board meeting, if the next week, HPARB had seen it at that point, then they might have had some comments to go forward once the public hearing happened in August, but
Okay.
timing wise, that's just kind of how it worked out.
All right.
So we would like to be collaborative with zoning and not drag things out. But we all need to be looking at the materials we need to make our decisions. So, okay, thanks, John, for your time.
Thank you for your time. Everyone have a good night.
You too.
You as well.
Okay, we've done item number 3 on the agenda, so we'll move on to item number 4, 16 Mill Street. Michael,
Hello,
how are you?
fine. Good evening, everyone.
Would you like to tell us about your project?
Sure, it's kind of the second phase of replacing some of the windows at the house at 16 Mill Street, which was built as a kid house in the early 60s. There's really no historic integrity to any of these. We did replace some, I think it was 2015. I don't know, Jane, if you remember when that was.
Oh,
And
it's
we'd like to,
pre-Jane.
it was pre-Jane, right? But
But
we'd
I
like
think that's
to,
what it was.
we'd like to replace some of the other windows with a similar style and manufacturer and all of that. And I provided photos to Jane and reviewed which windows they were. Really, on 2 of the facades, nothing is going to change. Only in the rear, where there's one single window, we want to put in 2 side-by-side windows to match what's in the front of the house.
Okay. And then in another section of the house that's through the screened area, so it's at that point not even quite visible, correct?
That's correct. That's where the larger window, the 8/1 is located. The only change is that single window to the left of the screened-in porch on the rear facade, the south-facing facade.
Item number 3.
Um,
It's item number 2.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 windows, Michael?
It would be 1, 2, 3, 6 windows.
Okay.
Two on the east facade, where in the photo, there's an air conditioner, those two together. On the west facade, there are 2 windows exactly the same. It's kind of hard to get a picture of that because of the way it slopes and the neighbor. And we may be coming back for a change order on one of those windows, but at this point, we're not ready to do that. And then 2 on the rear, the one 8/1, which will not change at all, and then the single window that will become 2 side-by-side windows.
Does anybody have any questions for Michael? And again, according to the information you submitted, it's matching Anderson with your existing Anderson windows, correct?
It's the same window, according to Bud Tabor, who's going to be doing the work.
Great. Brian, do you have any questions? Pat, do you have any questions?
No,
Okay. Dave, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. I recall the first application.
Me too. Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion, or maybe Dave will let you make the motion since you have the cheat sheet? If you'd like to, of course.
Right. Whereas Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings for number 16 Mill Street. Public hearing was not required. It is not a contributing structure. Therefore, in accordance with section 300-26E, two B, C, 3A, B, and D, and 5, I would assume.
I think so too. Thank you. Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. It's Pat.
Thank you, Pat. Any discussion? This is Liz. I vote yay.
Brian, yay.
David, yes.
Pat, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael, very much.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
Sure.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 5.
Let's go to number 7 because
Okay.
Eric's the only other one that's actually
Sure.
present.
Okay, so we're going to jump to 11 Leatherstocking Street. The proposed rebuilding of front steps with brick and bluestone slabs as submitted. Eric,
Yes.
would you like to tell us about the project?
Can you hear me? Am I on?
Yep.
So this is the street side, Leatherstocking Street. We want to, prop the porch up, take the existing columns off, save them, reuse them, take the top layer of brick off, replace with bluestone, and use the brick that we save to repair what we need to repair on the bottom. We sent a existing picture to Jane plus a picture of what we're looking to do.
So the stair treads would be bluestone slabs, and the landing, is that also bluestone then too, or is that brick?
That would go bluestone.
Okay.
So we would keep the same footprint and same elevations we have now, because the bluestone, it might be a little thinner, so we'd come down a little bit, but it would basically stay the same.
And you're going to be able to manage to reinstall the columns if the bluestone is thinner, and you'll find an appropriate way to blend that?
Yep, the base is, we got to rebuild, they have a square base on the bottom, and they're
Mhm.
rotten now, so we have to rebuild them anyway. So if anything, we'll just
Okay.
have to make them a little bit thicker.
Okay, but otherwise the columns are in good shape and
Yep.
reusable?
Yep, they're fluted columns are in good shape.
With the bluestone images you sent us,
Yeah.
there were a couple of examples proposed. Some seem like they're a little more textured, and this is from a black and white image, so I'm guessing at that. Others
Yeah.
seem a little more finished. Do you know what they're leaning toward?
We want to get the finished bluestone look,
Okay.
not the textured look. We don't want it all bumpily and everything else. We want a nice smooth surface.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Eric?
I'm good.
Pat?
I'm good.
Dave?
Fine.
Okay, great. Dave, since you're the one with the
I'm
cheat
up.
sheet, thank you.
Whereas the Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings on 11 Leatherstocking Street. Public hearing was not required. It is a listed structure in the historic district. Therefore, in accordance with section 300-26E, 2A, B, C, and 3A and B.
Fantastic. Do we have a
Therefore,
second?
be resolved.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Would anybody like to second that?
I'll second, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, any discussion? All right, Liz votes yay.
Brian, you.
Pat, yay.
David, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you guys. Have a great night. And thank you, Jane, for working with me.
No
You too,
problem.
Eric. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Okay. So should we jump right back into the agenda items as they read, Jane, or would you like to do it in
Yeah,
a different order? Okay.
No, you can just work your way through it. Nobody else is here, so I think
Okay.
all of them are simple enough that hopefully there isn't questions.
You can talk us through them if there's anything we really need
Yep.
to know. Item number 5 is 37 Delaware Street, proposed 4-foot tall wood picket fence as submitted to contain his children. I think Jesse's been doing a good job on this house. It's nice to see it getting so well taken care of. Jane, I don't know if there's anything you want to tell us from speaking with the applicant.
The only thing I wasn't quite sure of, and I kind of, when I submitted everything to you, I had drawn in the fence surrounding the entire property. Going back through his thing, his initial application, it looks like he's only planning right now on pretty much the Delaware Street right along, by the sidewalk.
Mhm.
So it's just a wood, picket fence, 4 feet tall. And that's basically all the information I have. So,
Okay. Yeah, it's from his drawing. I think his drawing is the hand drawing that's included in the file.
correct.
So it is hard to tell, but
Right. It looks like eventually there will be a fence enclosing that thing. And currently, from what I can tell, there is no fence on any of the properties. So I'm not really sure. But I mean, it's less than 4 feet tall or no taller than 4 feet. So it pretty much can go on any location without any other information or permission from adjoining neighbors or anything. So if you want to just do it as, like I said, going back through the drawing, it basically looks like he's only asking permission right now for along the sidewalk.
and he didn't give you a picture of any profiles. He just said pressure treated picket, correct?
Correct, that he was going to paint white, I
Okay.
think is what he had said, so.
Does anybody have questions for Jane? Do we need more information from the applicant? Go ahead.
I'm a little bit uncomfortable not seeing the fence.
getting the profile and
Yeah.
understanding what he's planning on installing.
Exactly. On my street, for God's sakes, Liz.
I get it, Brian. It's in your front yard. Well, I'm concerned because pressure treat picket can have a lot of variations in terms of historic appearance or more traditional appearance. Are we comfortable
I
asking?
mean, I was gonna say, if you want to, approve something contingent on the
Submission
final
of
design,
profile.
and I can actually just send that off to you, and if everybody's happy with the
Yeah,
final
I'd go for that.
profile.
I'm fine with that too. And maybe a better understanding of if it's a phased project, he's just doing the street now, like a clarification of what his plans are, if he plans to do the rest, or if it's just the street. Not that that weighs into our decision, but it would be helpful to understand that. But I am comfortable with you asking him for material specifications or images so we can understand what we're approving and circulating it for everybody to sign off on, or if there are hesitations, then we can wait until the next meeting. I hate to hold it up if we are able to do it that way. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yep.
Dave? You
Yes.
comfortable with that? Great. Okay, Jane, are you able to do that then? Would somebody like to make a motion contingent upon submission and circulation of materials proposed?
I guess that's me again, isn't it?
Thank you. Yes, we're making you earn your keep tonight, Dave.
He shouldn't have to do it for 6 months.
Well, once Roger comes back.
Right, this is what happens when Roger doesn't come to the meeting.
Just a question, why don't we approve it for as submitted and have him get approval for the fence design as he approaches that? Therefore, if he wants to do the whole yard, he doesn't have to come back to us 3 times.
Sounds good. Jane, is
So
that
put the
acceptable?
contingency in there for any
Okay. All right,
future.
just say what you're actually doing so I can write it down.
All right, I haven't started yet, man.
Okay.
And Jane, you understand what Dave's proposing? That's okay to do it that way, correct? That's not gonna.
I don't see an issue with it, because basically the approval is still predicated on a final decision from the board, so
Right.
it's just gonna
Okay.
be kind of a delayed action thing, so.
Therefore, whereas, et cetera, public hearing was not required. Structure is not historic in nature since it's only a fence.
But the
Therefore,
property is.
yes. There was a structure on it at one point. Now therefore be resolved that, let's see, 2A, B, C, 3A, and B. And as far as D goes, we need to approve that at a later date. So that's the contingency.
Okay,
Therefore, be resolved, etc.
thank you. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
I'll second,
Pat.
Brian.
Okay, we got 2 seconds.
Okay, but can you explain to me what I should be writing down is the actual contingency and approval?
The contingency is the visual appearance of the fence. Has to be approved before they put it up.
The materials he would like to use have to be
the way I
approved by the
understand
board.
Design and materials, the design and materials need to be approved at a later date before it's erected. All right.
But we can do that based on just an email circulated once I get the information from
Yes.
him, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. We had a 2 seconds. Pat or Brian, take your pick, Michael. And any discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. Liz votes yay.
Brian, yeah.
David, yes.
Pat, yes.
Thank you. All right. West Ridge, another fence. Jane, do you have any comments or anything we should know about this proposal?
Okay. They are somewhat undecided as far as the size of it. They're looking at something 3 to 4 feet tall. It's going to be all wood. It's going to be painted white. They're calling it a corral fence, and she keeps referring to all of the Jane Clark property fences is what she's hoping to end up with. Her initial drawing showed 3 horizontal boards. I think if it's only going to be 3 feet tall, it might go down to just 2 boards, but I think she's leaning now more towards a 4 board with, or 4 foot high with 3 horizontal boards.
So, and she's talking about it going along the front and side.
No, it's only going to be along the side property.
Okay, so between her house and Carol Taylor's house.
Correct. And it's going to be somewhere between 75 to 100 feet long, but it's kind of the property slope, so she kind of basing it all on, appearance once it gets designed. So it won't come much, it shouldn't come any farther forward than what's shown on that one sketch. It might come a little farther forward, but it'll never actually be in the front yard setback at all.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments about the proposed fence?
Yeah, I'm not sure which Jane Clark fence she's referring to, since there are several.
Well, I think she's referring to all the ones that are along 28.
So that's a simpler fence than the design sheet, the hand-drawn design she submitted, but which is, I don't think those fences generally have that kind of pointed top.
they
I
don't.
think, yeah, I think they're pretty flat. But
Well, they're not flat, but they're
right, simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, should have. And you would know, Dave.
And the rails are attached to the outside of the post, not as she sketched them.
Okay, well
They're continuous rails.
Okay, is that going to be an issue one way or the other as far as the design?
Well, it'll make a difference which facing, but.
Right. She couldn't give me any pictures at the time when she was doing all this. She basically just said, corral fences similar to what Jane Clark uses. So are there other ones that the only ones I could think of off the top of my head were the ones that were basically along 28. If there are other ones that she might have been referring to, I'm not sure.
There's another fence along Susquehanna before you get to the deer park that is not like the horse fence at all.
I think as long as she understands that if it's a fence with the rails facing Carol's and knows all those rules, and is, if she can, are people comfortable with agreeing to a wooden fence that falls somewhere between the design she submitted with the pointy posts and the traditional Clark fences along 28 or along Susquehanna, which are a little bit simpler.
Okay, I just pulled up the Susquehanna image on my screen just to look at it. I can show her that and verify that might be what she's thinking of at the time. When she drew this, originally she was hoping to go with a vinyl fence, and then she decided that she didn't want a vinyl fence anymore. So this design might have been based on what she was finding at like Home Depot or whatever initially. So
Yeah, because the horse fence is much heavier than a typical residential fence.
And it sounds like what she's going for is somewhat ornamental, since it's not kind of doing anything but running along one property line, so might be.
well, like I said, I can get a final design, you know, the same way as with Jesse on Delaware, just to kind of, for you guys to sign off on final design once.
And materials,
she-
once she clarifies also.
Right.
Yeah,
But like I said, everything's basically going to be, you know, painted white wood. So
and she knows that the good side has to face the Taylor property, etc. Correct?
correct.
Yeah.
That gets written into the decision
Yeah.
typically.
I would like to see what she comes up with as a final design, and have, if we're willing to vote on it tonight, have it contingent upon that. And that's if other people are comfortable with that.
Oh, I am. I think that's good.
Pat, are you okay with that?
As long as it's got the contingency in it, I am.
Dave, are you willing to make a motion saying that?
Michael,
Yes,
all you have to do is just change the address on the last one.
okay. All
And
right.
since we tore you away from the lake tonight, Dave, we do want you to make it worth your while.
Actually, I'm not in town tonight anyway.
Okay. So tell us when you're good, Michael, and we'll get you a second.
I just wrote Dave, and then I wrote contingency as per previous decision, and I'm good. All right. That's what you want to say, I'm good. All right, when I write it, that's not what I'm gonna write, but let me write it up. Okay.
Okay. Would somebody like to second that?
I'll second it, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, I vote yay.
Brian, yes.
David, yes.
I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
David,
Pat,
yes. Yep.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So we have done 11 leather stocking,
We're up to 52
Walnut Street. Replacement of existing asphalt walkways with paver walks as submitted. And Jane, do you want to, do you have anything to say or explain about this?
Well, I mean, the application's fairly obvious. It's 2 existing asphalt walks that she just wants to replace with pavers in the similar design that what she had proposed. So I don't know specifically as far as the color of the brick, whether she was talking about doing that blue colored brick or from the photo, or whether she was just using it as an example of paver bricks. So I can try to get a hold of her right now by email and just see if she can comment on that if you're concerned as far as the color of the brick itself.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the color? Does anybody have any other questions or concerns in general about this application? Would anybody like to ask Dave if he was willing to make a motion for them? It's all in
Okay,
your
here I go.
tonight, Dave.
Whereas Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings, and 52 Walnut Street. Public hearing was not required. It is within the historic district. Section 300-26E, 2A, B, C, 3A, B, and D.
Switching it up.
Therefore,
Thank you, Dave. Would anybody like to second that?
I'll second it, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Liz votes yay.
Pat,
Brian, yay. Sorry, Pat. Go ahead.
yes,
David, yes.
And Michael Brian, wait, raised his hand. Brian, while we're doing this on Zoom, we are
Yes,
speaking our
Brian,
vote.
yes.
Everybody said yes.
Okay, we got it.
To save Michael some sanity. 9 is 40 Delaware Street. They really did take that porch out, didn't they, Jane?
Yes, they did.
Did they not? No, they should ask.
No, and it's a property that's owned by somebody outside the village. It's managed by somebody else that I guess is not aware of the fact that he needed to come in for anything. I happened to catch him in mid demolition, so it's an existing concrete porch that they are just replacing with concrete, so that technically does not need to go before the board. The stairs, however, are existing concrete steps, and he would like to convert that to pressure treated stairs and using the same railing that is existing, and they'll just retrofit it to work with the wood stairs as opposed to concrete, is what they're planning on doing.
Did we have any images? I know of the porch before it was dismantled.
No,
Okay.
I can see if there's something I can pull off of online. It was already gone when I got there, so I couldn't take any photos at that point.
Okay. And yeah, I'm not sure if it was the same owners. They had come to us, and I can't remember who their representative was a few years ago regarding some window replacement, I think. But that might have been before your time, Jane. I can't remember.
Yeah, there wasn't anything in the file that I could find, so.
And only because as I looked at the rubble that was left of the porch, I wondered if there was some kind of decorative facing or stonework on the base of that porch. Brian, I know that's on your street too. Do you have any recollection of what that porch looked like pre-destruction?
I mean, the only thing it looks like is it looks like it was colored from the latest, or from images I'm picking up from a street view map. It almost looks orange from the
Okay.
photo, but I don't see anything other than that. And like I said, the railing is kind of a metal. He's calling it a wrought iron. It didn't appear wrought iron when I was looking at it, but it's a spindly kind of intermediates, and it just runs down one side of the stairs.
Okay, so it's a pretty simple handrail.
It's painted kind of green, but he said it's wrought iron, so I think he's just going to paint it back to, whatever color he decides on. If you want to hold on 1 minute, I'll see if I can just capture this image and transfer it over to that screen.
Sure. So the porch in that picture, is it significantly bigger than the porch as it exists today?
I don't
Um,
think so. I mean.
Oh, you're
when I
right,
was-
it isn't. Okay, the hedges
Yep.
kind of obscure that. Okay,
So the width, you know, the stairs that he's replacing is going to be the same width as what's there now. It's just, like I said, he'd rather not have to worry about foundations and pouring forms and replacing concrete with new concrete steps. So,
but he is gonna pour or a new concrete
yeah, he
porch?
said he was replacing, that was going to be concrete again. Because I asked him if he was, you know, because I said you'd have to go back or you'd have to come for a full application. He said all along they've been saying it's going to be concrete again up there. It's just
Okay.
the steps that are changing materials.
So he's proposing pressure treated wooden steps to replace the existing. Does anybody have any questions? Is anybody uncomfortable with Dave making a motion?
So good at it at this point.
The last one, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, and Richard Carr isn't alive any longer. It's his niece and nephew.
Oh, well,
Anyway.
he's still listed on real property as the owner.
Anyway, whereas the Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings concerning 40 Delaware Street. Public hearing was not required. It is within the historic district. In relation to section 300-26E, 2A, B, C, 3A, B. And I think that's probably it. Therefore, be it resolved.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Pat. Any discussion? All right, Liz votes yay.
Brian, yes.
Pat, yes.
David, yes.
Thank you. All right. I'm not sure whether to talk about this before the review of the minutes or after. At the last meeting, and I think we had a little discussion in the end of the minutes about it, we discussed 14 Elm Street, and there had been kind of a little false alarm that day because it looked like somebody was interested in buying it, but wanted to come to HPARB to discuss the demolition. And Jane explained that was unlikely to go over well with HPARB, and I'm not sure where that particular business.
He's totally left that one.
Okay.
He's now looking at building a new house on a different property in the village.
Okay. Wow, there's the one property left in the village is on my street, I think.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, since then, I did tell Jane that I would go and chat with Michael Swaddling because we had asked him to last fall when he came to us regarding demolishing the back burnt out, not historic section of First 14 Elm. We did give him permission to do that, and we also expressed our concern that the building and areas that are exposed and rotting because of exposure be closed up before winter. And he did not do that last winter. And as we turn the corner into fall, I think it's important that we pursue that again to make sure that it gets closed up before this winter. I did speak with Michael briefly. he told me at that point that it was under contract. That was about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point. Jane, I don't know if you've heard anything else regarding that. But I really think we need more teeth in terms of maybe it's time we ask the trustees and Martin to get behind a message that we expect whoever owns this to begin to close it up so it is not damaged anymore with the impending changing seasons. So is that something that you are able to do, Jane, with the trustees?
I'll try to put something together and get it to you before their next meeting, just to kind of get your eyes on it before I just give it to them directly. But
Okay.
yes, I should be able to get something
Yeah.
in
Thank
front
you.
of them before the end of their next meeting.
Yeah, Michael was not happy, that I was drawing it to his attention and really brushed it off that it was under contract. But I think whoever owns it needs to understand that that's an expectation.
Did
And
he talk about when he was expecting it to close?
nope, he said somebody from Delhi. It was under contract with somebody from Delhi, and I asked him who, and he said, I don't know. So, I don't know how soon. We didn't get any other information out of him. So, I think that might be a way to proceed with at least the building on Main Street, where you're not getting a lot of feedback either from the
Yep.
owners. It's time to figure out a way to put a little bit of more weight behind our polite requests.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else to add or any other thoughts along these lines? Okay, did everybody have a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting? Good job, Michael. Hopefully it won't be as painful this time.
Well, at least there won't be a discussion on that.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the minutes from the August meeting, excuse me, from somebody who was at that meeting? I'm not sure we can because it's you and I, right, Dave?
That's right. So
Uh,
we accept the minutes as submitted.
But we can't really, we need.
Wasn't
do we
Pat
need
there?
Were you at the last meeting, Pat? Yes, you were, right? I'm sorry. So we can do this. I apologize. So Dave has motioned. Pat, would you be willing to second?
Oh, I certainly would.
Okay, great. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Pat, aye.
David, I.
Okay, thank you.
And Brian will abstain, right, Brian?
Yep, I understand.
Okay, thank you. All right, Jane, is there anything else we need to discuss?
No, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
we talked about the 14, so that was the only one I kind of had in my head.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciate everybody's time on this beautiful late summer evening. I hope everyone has a good September, and we'll see you soon, online or in person. Thank you.
I assume that people still want to be online if possible.
I'm very comfortable this way. I don't know about everybody else. Is it working for everybody else?
I'm fine with this.
It's okay for me
Yeah.
Okay.
now, finally.
Yeah. I think now that we've gotten the hang of it, much as we'd all like to see each other's smiling faces, it's probably safer this way for a while. So thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Night.
Bye.
All right.